This week on HomeKit News, the Onvis 5-key switch with thread. So today, in actual fact, we're looking at two devices from Onvis, both of which utilise thread, which is a first for the company. If you want to make use of thread, you're going to need an Apple border router like these, of course. The first of these is the smart contact sensor, and you can see that it works with Apple HomeKit. We'll have a closer look at this device later, but first we'll take a look at the 5-key switch. The HS2, as it's also known, is basically a wireless button. Here are some specs, so feel free to pause the video. So aside from thread, it can also work with Bluetooth. It's only for indoor use and uses a CR2450 coin battery. Let's have a closer look at the switch now, and first impressions are that it is quite chunky, as you can see, but well made with 5 distinct buttons. There's a small LED on one edge and the battery compartment at the back, along with a HomeKit QR code on one edge. Let's now see what else is included. There's a single screw and roll plug which can be used to permanently affix the included mount to the wall, although it also comes with an adhesive sticker on the back anyway. The mounting plate is also magnetic, and unlike the Wemo Stage Scene controller, this magnet is actually quite strong. There's a manual in a few different languages, a spare adhesive sticker, and a set of icons that you can place on the 5 buttons to help you remember what each one of them does. The battery compartment on the underside already includes a CR2450 battery with a removable tab when you're ready to start installing it. Thankfully, opening and closing the battery compartment is very easy, as you can see. Let's now have a quick look at the contact sensor, or the CT3 as it's also known. In the box there's a manual along with a few spares, and the contact sensor itself in 2 halves. Like the original Bluetooth version, the company provide a series of spacers, which we'll look at later. As with this switch, this uses thread and Bluetooth, is for indoor use only, and uses the same CR2450 battery. I'll now set up the switch directly via the Home app. Now I've already removed the battery tab, so it's all ready to go. So I first scan the QR code to add it, and it shows us a programmable switch as expected. The procedure is exactly the same as any HomeKit device, so placing it in a room and naming it as usual. I'll now just quickly test it out, and as you can see, each press is registered in the Home app within the settings section, with each button having single, double and long presses, giving you a total of 15 possible options. One thing I have noted with thread devices is that once added in the Eve app, they tend to show as using Bluetooth for some reason instead of thread. To remedy this, I just reboot the iPhone and it seems to do the trick, and as you can see, it's now showing as connected over thread. Wireless buttons are quite common in HomeKit these days, so I'm just going to show you one use case I could think of involving another thread device, namely the Airversa Purelle. So in this example, a single press of button 1 turns the purifier on, whilst a double press turns it off, all very straightforward. If I press and hold the same button, it sets the fan speed to maximum. Additionally, if I single press button 2, I'm able to set the Purelle to sleep mode, with a double press returning it back to normal mode. Full details on how to do this with any wireless button can be found via the link in the corner. So how does the Onvis compare to some other wireless switches on the market? Well, the Onvis uses thread and has 5 buttons, which is very handy, and although it seems large, it is the same width and height as the Eve button, which only has the 1 button with 3 actions and also only uses Bluetooth. Eve apparently has no plans to make a thread version of this button. Then we have the Aqara Mini Switch, which once again has just the 1 button. It's certainly smaller though and uses Zigbee, which means you get fast reaction times, but it also requires an Aqara hub. Finally, we have the Wemo Stage Scene controller, which does use thread, comes with a backplate and has 3 buttons. It's taller but not as deep, and also uses a magnet to hold it in place. The previously mentioned built-in LED shows you how you pressed the button, with a single press resulting in a white LED, a double press showing a green LED, and a long press revealing a blue LED. This switch does have one more trick up its sleeve, so if I turn the studio lights off, you can see it has luminous stickers. Pretty funny. Quickly onto the CT3 now, and aside from the two main sections, you get these spacers and some extra stickers. The sensor needs to line up correctly when closed, indicated by the notches on both halves, and once lined up you can probably just about make out a green LED when the two halves connect or disconnect. Some people's doors don't always line up flush, so these spacers are very handy. You simply take the first part, which sticks to the magnet like so, and then you take however many spacers you need that clip into the first section, followed by a sort of a cap. This is then completed with a spare sticker so it can stick to the edge of the door or door frame. Just be aware these spacers fit very tightly, and so it's not quite as easy as you might think to prise them apart. Here's a quick test of the CT3 in the Home app, and as you can see, the reaction times are pretty decent, although maybe not as fast as Zigbee perhaps. Still, it's faster and more consistent than Bluetooth, whilst also not having to be tethered to a specific hub, which is the case with Zigbee. Finally, here are some use cases for the CT3, starting with the same door, so you can set a colour lamp to turn red when the door has opened and have it turn green when the door is closed before eventually turning itself off. Next, when the bathroom door closes, it turns the Aqara light switch on whilst turning off once the door opens again. Finally, if you have a sliding shower door, a light can be set to blue to let people know not to run a tap whilst you're showering, and you can even turn on multiple lights including a nanoleaf bulb, the LED ring on the Aqara M1S, or the previously shown Yeelight D2 lamp. So onto the pros and cons, and I'm all for Thread these days if I can find devices that use it instead of Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, although I still love Zigbee of course. Having 5 buttons on one switch really gives you a lot of controllable options, more so than almost any other switch except for maybe the Aqara Cube T1 Pro perhaps. With the inclusion of spacers for the contact sensor, it shows Onvis has thought this through for many door types, so good on them. The magnet in the base of the switch is way stronger than the Wemo Stage, which sometimes feels like a simple breeze would cause it to fall off, so that's another plus. The only unknown is whether these will get Matter updates, so I can't say more on that, although for HomeKit centric smart homes it really doesn't make much of a difference. The only other point, which isn't a negative to me, is that the form factor of the switch seems to divide opinion. In the end, if you want the extra functionality and thread connection this offers, I'm not sure it's an issue for most people, but that's your call of course. So that's our take on the new Onvis Thread devices, but if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and I'm certain to reply. If you like this video, please consider subscribing whilst also selecting the bell icon so you don't miss our next video. And until the next time, stay safe and remember, we're only making plans for Nigel.